Boy, these Mario Party games are pretty fun. You know what's even better though? Pokemon Stadium minigames for the N64, available for $19.99 plus tax.
Somebody say Pokemon Stadium minigames.
Hey friends, I'm Pragmatic and I talk about video games. Except today we're not going to talk about the main game, we're actually going to be talking about the mini games within the main game. That's right, we're talking about games within games. Ugh. While Pokemon Stadium and Stadium 2 were great, the mini games were like the cherry on top. So let's get into that. The Pokemon Stadium games had quite a bit to offer. Both saw you facing each gym leader to win the championship, and also allowed for 2 players to battle with preset Pokemon. The game also allowed you to transfer Pokemon from their respective generations and use them in battle. You'd think with all this, the minigames might be the last thing I'd want to talk about. But it's not. Each minigame holds about as much entertainment as a Mario Party minigame, if not more. Plus I really just wanted to play this game with my wife and thought why not talk about it while I do. And where better to start than with the Magikarp minigame. The idea here is rather simple, as you just hit the A button to jump and hit this little bell. The one who hits the most wins. It turns out this is so easy that only the last computer lost. Next up we have one of my favorites, the Clefairy Memory Game. This one has you remembering button commands and then performing them as sort of a song. It's initially pretty easy, but once it gets to the finale, you can easily slip up. The 2 computers we were up against didn't stand much of a chance, and my wife almost had it until the very end. Yeah! And then we have the Rattata race, where you just have these Rattata running on this little treadmill, and it's just kind of adorable. Of course I won this one, my name being Joey, and of course me having the top percentage of Rattata, it was only natural that I won. After that, we have what I believe to be the worst game out of all of them, the Drowsy Hypnosis game. Basically this one acts as a rhythm game. By hitting A right as the pendulum strikes the center, your Drowsy will stay awake. This would make for a pretty good game if not for this going on for way too long and going way too fast to where it becomes this mess of you just hitting A and hoping to stay awake. My wife actually won this one, fitting as I suck at this one. Next up we have a Pikachu and Voltorb themed game where you hit either B or A rapidly to charge up your generator first. The winner causes all the other players to get violently shocked, which with them being electric type shouldn't bother them too much. Somehow the computer managed to beat both of us in this one. Next we have one of the silliest and most well thought out games. This one involves you being a Lickitung trying to eat as much as possible. Eating the same dish will give you a bonus, and eating this hot tea will give you points, but it'll also burn your tongue and cause you to freak out, wasting your time. I just want you to listen to this for a bit and just really appreciate all the sounds going on here. Once again, the computer has bested us. After that, we have the Ekans Ring Toss game, where you try your best to get your Ekans around each of these dittos. Sounds like a sex thing. Anyway, I'm not too fond of this one as the joystick sensitivity never seems to be enough or is entirely too much. But I won this one! Next up is this Metapod and Kakuna timing game where you show off your defensive prowess by showing just how good your harden ability is. This one requires a bit of timing as each time you harden, your stamina to hold that hardness starts to deplete. Sounds like a sex thing. The trick is to do it at the last possible second before these rocks hit you. Sounds easy enough, but it is possible to slip up, and if you do, it could punish you multiple times for it. And finally we have the Sandshrew game where you dig. And that's pretty much it. Just keep hitting L and R successively to dig and dig fast, whereas hitting the same button twice will cause you to mess up. Yeah, I don't like this one. And those were all the mini games from the first game. The Pokemon Stadium 2 had even more content, as if it was lacking anything. To be perfectly honest, I didn't touch this game a whole lot, but you know who did? My wife. Pokemon Stadium 2 brought a little bit more to the table, this time around upping the graphics a bit and adding even more Pokemon with fully detailed animations. Even the number of mini-games were increased, and this version came with a quiz game that had questions only the most elite Pokemon fans would know. So basically my wife and sometimes me. While having the option to choose the difficulty, choosing normal seemed a bit too easy, and choosing hard would have that challenge amped up significantly. Sometimes. Regardless, Tiffany beat me in both normal and in hard modes. The results were to be expected, but the shame was still real. First up on the actual minigames, we have this Golbat flying game, where you fly around trying to collect hearts, but there's so many obstacles holding on to any of these seems impossible. Crashing into a Magnemite will make you lose a portion of your hearts, and slamming into any other player makes you lose one. And it really becomes a mess just watching it. Needless to say, neither of us won. Next up is this Hitmontop Beyblade simulator. I can think of no better description as your goal is literally to spin and smack the other players out of the ring, the first to do so 3 times being the winner. This game could have done with a bit of palette changes as it's kind of hard to see which ones you are at times. But hey, Tiffany and I both pulled out a win in this one. Before we get into this next one, I want to note that this game actually names your players, with this minigame featuring Scyther and Pincers named Pincing, Pocker, Saipon, and who could forget Thairslip. Anyway, this game is pretty cool and requires some precise timing. These logs are dropped and your goal is to cut right where the line is drawn. I somehow managed to pull off a win this time, despite a few of my attempts not being the best. Also, why did this one have such a visible color palette swap? After that, we have this group of Ferts playing a game of Hungry Hungry Hippos. Basically, these Pokeballs, Great Balls, and Master Balls will drop in and your goal is to get them in the center and try to push them into your nest. This one took a little bit to understand, but somehow I managed to pull out a win. Next up is what might possibly be my favorite game, where you control these Mr. Mimes to try and hit these balls with your barrier and to knock it into any other player's goal. Note that the last one to actually touch the ball is the one who will score if it gets past a goal. I for some reason didn't seem to understand that for a bit. Still, really fun game. On to the next one, we have Pichu Shock. This is almost a carbon copy of the Pikachu minigame from Pokemon Stadium 1, except this time you have to move your D-pad in the direction the button is indicating while hitting either A or B. I'm a little unnerved by how delighted this Pichu is to have his friends get shocked so violently. But hey, Tiffany won. Also, this Pichu's name is Picheps. I hope you placed your bets because next we have the Donphan races. This one has you race around this track while trying to get first place. This one seems pretty fair as you can leave these little dust tornadoes around, and the further back in place you are, the more of these tornadoes you can leave. So it does help to keep you guessing who would win. I'll give you a hint, it wasn't us, Red Computer. The next one is a pretty fun one. Being either Cleffa or Igglybuff, you find yourself in a counting game. All you have to do is count in the right amount of certain Pokemon you see dash across the screen. This goes from easy to ridiculous in no time, as the pure amount of Pokemon that run across can get really excessive. I came out in the end, but this happened to be Tiffany's favorite game, probably from the sheer cuteness going on in here. Next we have the Togepi race. This one is actually pretty similar to the Rattata race from the first game, but this time around it's a top-down format and you have to move to avoid obstacles. It's actually a pretty tight squeeze and you'll probably find yourself hitting more than you think you would. Not my favorite, but my inner Rattata racing skills helped me see through to the end. Another game that I really liked was this cute Delibird delivery game. Its scoring system is similar to the Lickitung game, but this time you're going back and forth. As an added bonus, these Swinubs will be running through every now and then that will knock what you have out of your bag if you get hit. This is pretty great as it mixes risk with reward. The more you stuff in your bag at one time means a bigger score, but also means you move slower, so do at your own risk. Next up is a pretty fun one. Chansey Catch has you catching these falling eggs to put into your pouch. The player with the most eggs wins. This would be pretty great if it didn't involve the winning Chansey throwing her eggs into the water anyway. Why are you doing this? Those are your children! That's filicide, Chansey! Finally, we have the last game, the Eevee Fruit Grab. This game has us running around the bowl until it's finally lifted, either revealing fruit or a pineco. Getting to the fruit first gets you points, but hitting the pineco leaves you unable to enter the next round. Really shows a good mix of skill and risk and reward. Also, it's just cute to look at. Really, this whole video made me learn 2 things. I should never challenge my wife to a Pokemon quiz, and I'm pretty good at racing Rattatas. Thanks for watching. Hey guys, thanks for checking out the video. This is just a little fun video I wanted to make while I get ready for some other projects. What mini games were you a master at? Let me know in the comments and consider liking and subscribing if you haven't already. Also check out my Twitter as it's where I'm most active. My wife's Twitter is also below, where she showcases her art for the channel as well as her own personal works. As always, thanks for watching and keep it practical.